Before you open your next beer, you need to hear this. Australia has had real beer recalls. FSANZ-confirmed warnings for exploding cans, chemical smells and dangerous fermentation. Most Aussies never heard about any of it, but you deserve to know the truth. Today, we're exposing the 8 beers you should avoid, including 6 brands officially pulled from shelves and the 4 safer choices that actually hold up. Let's start with the first illusion almost every Aussie falls for. Low-carb beer is one of the biggest illusions in the Australian alcohol aisle. The labels scream clean, light, better for you. The ads show joggers, surfers, fit bodies and crisp white beaches. But here's the truth. The kilojoules in beer don't come from the carbs, they come from the alcohol. Which means that all the low-carb branding, all the health wash packaging, all the promises of a lighter choice barely change anything that matters. It's almost funny. If you stand in a bottle shop and watch how people choose a low-carb beer, it's usually with a proud smile, like they're making the good choice. You can almost hear the justification. This one's healthier. But the number on the back tells a different story. A low-carb beer might save you a gram of carbs, sure. But your body isn't measuring grams of carbs, it's dealing with alcohol. Because alcohol makes up most of the calories. So that so-called healthy beer? It's basically the same kilojoules as the regular version. The only difference is the taste and the marketing budget behind it. 2 beers side by side. One says low carb, the other doesn't. Flip them around, compare the numbers. The difference is often so small it's almost embarrassing. This is why so many people feel confused when they choose low-carb beers for months, and nothing changes in their health, because nothing actually was changing. Low-carb isn't a health strategy, it's a sales tactic, and breweries know exactly how to use your desire to drink smarter against you. Let's move to number 7, because this next one isn't about ingredients, it's about identity. These are the beers that look Aussie. They feel Aussie. They wrap themselves in outback colours, fishing legends, rugged mateship and classic Australian imagery. But many of these Aussie-looking brands aren't Australian-owned at all. Behind the kangaroos and coastlines and sun-faded labels, foreign multinational corporations are cashing in on Australian identity, while real Australian breweries fight to survive. It's one of the biggest marketing tricks in the industry. Use Australian nostalgia to sell foreign-owned products. And it works because Aussies want to buy Australian. We want to support local jobs. We want to support family businesses. We want to keep traditional breweries alive. But branding with an accent fools even the most loyal shoppers. In fact, some of the beers that our parents, grandparents and mates grew up thinking were iconic Aussie brands haven't been locally owned for years. Meanwhile, the actual Australian-owned craft breweries struggle for shelf space, squeezed out by international giants with deeper pockets and louder advertising. This matters because ownership shapes everything. Pricing, ingredients, sourcing, workers' wages, and how much profit stays in Australia. When you pick up one of these Aussie look beers, you might feel patriotic. But the truth is, your money may be flying overseas. But now we step away from clever marketing and into something much more serious. Because number 6 was recalled for a reason that can physically injure you. Bright Tank Brewing has built a strong reputation in Western Australia, creative beers, bold flavours and a loyal following. But even respected breweries can run into dangerous problems. Certain batches of their West Coast Hazy Pale Ale were officially recalled after a serious issue surfaced: secondary fermentation inside the can. Secondary fermentation sounds technical, but it's simple. The beer wasn't finished. It was sealed too early, still alive, still producing gas. And when that gas builds up inside a closed aluminium can, the can becomes a pressurized container. Something it was never meant to be. Imagine this. You open your fridge, reach for a can, and it feels tight. Too tight. The sides are rounded, swollen, unnaturally smooth. You angle it under the light and see the whole can bulging, like it's breathing. Now imagine a hot summer day. That same can sits in the back of your car, or inside an esky, or on a metal table in the sun. Pressure builds, metal stretches, and you have a can that could burst with enough force to cut skin or injure someone nearby. What most Aussies don't realise is how quickly this danger escalates. A beer brewed at the wrong temperature, sealed with even a tiny amount of sugar or active yeast still inside, becomes a miniature bomb. 1 hour in a warm boot can turn an already unstable can into something genuinely dangerous. This wasn't social media fear-mongering, this was FSANZ issuing a real recall. And once a beer crosses into injury risk territory, the conversation changes completely. Brewers know this is the nightmare scenario, the one mistake you never want in a customer's home. Let's move to number 5, because the exact same issue appeared again in another brewery's lineup. White Lies Brewing in Queensland also faced a recall for its Hazy Craze Sessions Ale. This one hit even harder emotionally because it was marketed as a session ale, the kind of beer you drink slowly over an afternoon, pacing yourself. But inside those cans, fermentation was still quietly happening. More pressure, more gas, more alcohol than advertised. What should have been a low-intensity drink became unpredictable. Picture this. You're at a weekend BBQ. You hand a mate a cold can. He cracks it open, but instead of the soft hiss of carbonation, the can erupts with a violent blast of pressure. Foam sprays everywhere. Everyone jumps. People laugh at first, until they realise how forceful it actually was. And here's the part no one thinks about. A can under pressure doesn't always explode when you open it. Sometimes it explodes before. A bump, a drop, a squeeze, a shift inside the esky. Any of those tiny moments can push it past its limit. Fermentation inside a can is like a chemical reaction happening in the dark. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't predict it. And when alcohol levels rise above what's printed on the label, you're not just dealing with a messy accident. You're dealing with a drink that's no longer what you paid for. And FSANZ had no choice but to step in. If you think that's alarming, number 4 is where the warnings get even more serious. This one stands out because the FSANZ warning was unusually urgent. Do not open the can. Big Shed's mango sour beer wasn't just over-carbonated, it was dangerously over-pressurized, enough that opening the can could injure you. And this wasn't an isolated region recall. It was spread across New South Wales, Australian Capital Territory, Queensland, South Australia, and online sales nationwide. Imagine your fridge packed with drinks before guests arrive. A child opens the fridge and grabs a can to help a parent. The can rolls off a shelf. The kitchen is warm. The pressure inside spikes just a little more. You don't see it, you don't hear it. But inside that thin layer of metal, a volatile reaction is happening. And here's the hidden danger. Sour beers are especially vulnerable to over-fermentation because they contain fruit sugars. Mango, especially, is a wild ingredient. If even a trace of sugar is left active, the beer can start fermenting again long after it's packaged. This isn't just a brewing mistake, it's chemistry. And chemistry doesn't care if the can is in a fridge, an esky, or a warehouse. It keeps reacting until the can fails. This is why FSANZ rarely uses such blunt language. Do not open the can is not a casual suggestion. When a food safety authority tells you not to open a product you already bought, that means the risk of injury is immediate and unquestionable. A beer becoming dangerous simply by existing in your home fridge. That's not something most Aussies ever imagine. But it happened. Now we move to number 3. Proof that even safe semen mid-strength beers can go wrong. Fortitude Brewing's Pacer beer is designed to be a safe option. A mid-strength you can rely on. Something you might drink at a work event at a casual afternoon gathering, or during a session where you want to stay in control. But certain batches were recalled because of, once again, secondary fermentation, this time affecting major retailers like Dan Murphy's, a beer with widespread distribution, sitting in thousands of fridges and eskies. A beer people chose specifically because they wanted moderation, suddenly carrying hidden danger. What most people don't realise is how easy it is for this type of error to slip through unnoticed. A slightly warmer storage condition, a little too much yeast left alive, a delay in chilling during packaging. Fermentation only needs a small window to restart, and when it does, it's silent, invisible, unpredictable. A mid-strength beer shouldn't be unpredictable. It shouldn't become stronger over time. It shouldn't risk bursting in your hand. But when fermentation restarts, the can becomes a ticking pressure chamber. And with Australia's heat, even a short time in a warm environment can dramatically increase the internal pressure. Imagine grabbing a six-pack from your car after work. The metal feels warm, the cans shift. One feels slightly rounder than it should. You ignore it, because who expects a beer to be dangerous? But in rare cases like this, the risk is there. Let's move to number 2, where the problem wasn't the beer at all, but what surrounded it. Überbrau Lager, sold through Coles, Liquorland and First Choice, faced an FSANZ recall due to a strong chemical odour coming from the packaging. Not the beer, the packaging. Most Aussies don't realise how much packaging affects the safety of the products they buy. Cardboard, inks, adhesives, they all interact with the environment around the cans, and when something goes wrong, those chemicals can migrate, causing contamination risks even if the liquid inside is perfectly fine. And here's the unsettling part. Chemical odours don't appear out of nowhere. They're usually a sign of breakdown, adhesives reacting to heat, inks off-gassing, or packaging exposed to conditions it wasn't designed to withstand. Now imagine someone grabbing a case of Überbrau on a busy night, rushing home, cracking open the box, and a wave of chemical smell hits them. Not a mild whiff, a harsh, unmistakable odour that raises every alarm in your body. Your brain reacts instantly. This isn't right. That's the moment FSANZ wanted to prevent. Because if something smells wrong, something is wrong. But if this concerns you, number 1 proves it wasn't an isolated issue. Henninger Lager, another affordable beer commonly found in Coles stores, had the exact same problem. A chemical odour coming from the packaging. That's 2 beers, 2 recalls, the same underlying issue. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Cheaper beers often rely on cheaper packaging, and cheaper packaging comes with risks, especially when exposed to heat, pressure, or long-distance transport. Picture a warehouse in summer. Hundreds of cases stacked to the ceiling, temperatures rising, packaging materials reacting. By the time the product reaches the shelf, something is already wrong. But no one knows until a customer opens the box. 2 recalls in the same retailer group tell a larger story. When packaging goes wrong, it goes wrong fast. Safety shouldn't depend on price, but these recalls reveal something hidden in plain sight. Sometimes the risk isn't in the drink at all. It's in the environment surrounding it. But it's not all bad news. Among all the recalls and risks, there are beer choices that hold up, and they start right here. Non-alcoholic beers are booming in Australia for a reason. They offer the lowest risk when it comes to alcohol-related harm, and they remove the unpredictability of fermentation issues entirely. No alcohol spikes. No hidden surprises, no pressure build-ups. And the flavour of non-alcoholic beers has improved dramatically in the last few years. Many Aussie drinkers say they barely notice the difference. For weeknights, for designated drivers, for cutting back, this category isn't a compromise anymore. It's a smart strategy. But not everyone wants to go alcohol-free. So let's look at the next best option, beers designed for control and consistency. Mid-strength beers remain a reliable option for Aussies who want control without sacrificing the experience. Fewer standard drinks per can means fewer unexpected outcomes. They provide a steady, predictable drinking experience, especially when compared with higher ABV craft beers sold in oversized cans. A mid-strength is honest. It is what it says it is. And in an industry full of confusing labels and big claims, that honesty matters. There's also another level of honesty, and you'll find it with Australia's independent brewers. Some independent breweries pride themselves on honesty. Simple ingredients, clear labelling, straightforward brewing methods. No health claims, no marketing illusions, no gimmicks. They also tend to produce smaller batches, which means tighter quality control and quicker responses when something does go wrong. And because they rely on reputation, not multinational marketing budgets, they can't afford to cut corners. Supporting these breweries doesn't just give you a safer beer, it supports real Australian jobs, real families and real craftsmanship. There's one option that stands above the rest, the ones that don't hide behind label. The safest beers are the ones that don't pretend to be healthy. They don't hide behind buzzwords. They don't try to convince you that drinking beer is part of a wellness routine. They simply tell you the alcohol percentage, the standard drinks, and the ingredients. Clear information is one of the most underrated safety tools a consumer has. When a beer is straightforward, you stay in control. Now I want to hear from you. What beer have you sworn off forever? Which one tasted wrong, acted strange, or gave you a bad surprise? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might save another Aussie. If you found this expose helpful, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and until next time, drink wisely.